I was thinking maybe she was getting the day off.
Stay off.
Yeah, not exactly the way you want it, but right.
Turn on the video. No swearing.
Such a swear. Like to call to order the Schoharie County Capital Resource Corporation committee meeting. Roll call.
That's right. Chester Burton.
Here.
Neil McAllister.
Here.
Charles Finnan.
Here.
Gail Breen. And Michael Moore.
Here.
Right.
Review and approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. We have some guests. And I'm sure you have something to say or else you wouldn't have been here.
We're here for the donuts.
So, we'll open it to the floor here.
Sure, and I'll start as the host community for one of the projects that the CRC is considering today. As you're probably all aware, the town of Gilboa did host the required public hearing for the application by URA Inc. for tax exempt bonds through the CRC. I'm certain you've all had an opportunity to review the transcripts of that public hearing, and I think from those transcripts, you can certainly get the sense that the community is not supportive of the issuance of tax exempt bonds for this applicant. There are a lot of concerns for myself as town supervisor. Probably the biggest concern is their exponential growth, and their facility has really outpaced a lot of our community services, in particular fire and EMS that are volunteer, and in particular fire service. But even beyond that, their projects have impacts on our town infrastructure, the demands placed on our code enforcement officer really, again, outscales any other developments that happen in the town of Gilboa, and is an ongoing concern and problem for us. So as the host community to the project, quite frankly, and you'll probably hear from some other folks, the economic impact that they claim just isn't there. I have no problem with the mission of the camp. I have no problem with the work that they undertake there for their community. But I would just say that they are not good neighbors.
Alicia, do they have a long-term plan? Or do they continue to look to expand or?
So quite frankly, right now, the only thing that limits their expansion, Mike, is the size of their wastewater treatment plant that is regulated by New York City DEP because they are in the New York City watershed, as well as DEC and the State Health Department. But for example, for the project that they applied to you for, I mean, again, they're building a 96,000 square foot, 3-story building, which for those of you that have been in Gilboa, we just don't have anything like that. I mean, again, it just outscales everything. They continue to buy neighboring properties. We did get them to pay property taxes, but only on their vacant parcels. There's concerns within the community, and again, this kind of bled over into the public hearing that was held at the Gilboa Town Hall, that they are not paying any type of property tax to the town or to the county. But yet, again, they still need the services, whether it's the roads and bridges or emergency responders.
Do they have any kind of business plan that they've shared with you in terms of steps or how
No.
anything will be accomplished?
No. And I would encourage you, I know at the public hearing, Bill Federici, did share copies of their tax return that was available on the IRS website. They have a tremendous amount of resources, available to them.
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Again, we're just not seeing the economic benefit for the project.
I wasn't at the meeting. Are they violating any legal things? You have land use or zoning or?
So the town does not have zoning, but I will remind you that there is a Supreme Court case, that it is now commonly referred to as Arlupa, where certain religious exemptions are also exempt from zoning, certain religious projects. Again, they look at the entirety of their project as being in line with their religious use. That's why they apply for the religious exemption. They are compliant with the building codes. They are compliant with our local, we refer to it as a home site law. It's basically just making sure you meet appropriate setbacks and things like that. Are unfortunate that our code officer doesn't spend time in some other towns because he's shared, but part of it is because of the demands of URA. I mean, again, they do comply with their annual fire inspection. They do comply with the building code. So for example, prior to the public hearing on the tax exempt bond issue, Sarah did participate or come to a town board meeting where we were discussing the building permit fee. And quite honestly, there was no way for the town board to deny that building permit because they complied with our local regulations as well as the building code. Our local regulation requires when you do a project over a certain size that fee gets set by the town board. And so that's why it was a matter to come before the town board. But it's, I mean, again, I cannot speak to their camp inspections that need to be done by the county health department or in conjunction with the state health department. I know in the past, there certainly have been issues. But as we sit here today, they appear to be in compliance with everything. I do know in talking to some of the regulators, for example, under stormwater pollution prevention plan permits, it has been somewhat challenging to make sure that they're in compliance with those plans, but no notices of violation or anything like that have been issued.
Don, you look like you have something to say.
Well, I don't know if I can really expound any further than what Alicia's eloquently presented. One thing I think I would point out is this isn't an applicant for what we're discussing here that we don't know. There's a well-established track record through not just one camp, but through two camps. And, not to belabor the issue, it's not been a good experience from my observation of either camp. There's been, problems with inspections from the very beginning. I remember years ago, probably, I'm going to use your term, over a decade ago, when Scotch Valley was still a ski area, and we met with URA and at public hearings, and there was promises made. And down in Jefferson, and I can remember some of those promises. I mean, we were going to integrate with the community. We were going to be a stalwart of employee, being an employer. We were going to shop locally. We're going to buy locally. None of those things ever happened. They never happened. As far as, from my chair, employees were brought in from other areas. There was very little local employment. Now, that being said, there was an effort to hire local to a degree in Jefferson, and that turned out to be a very bad situation. That those workers, many of them were never even paid for the services they were hired to do. Not a good neighbor is probably the theme that I can say has been consistent from both camps. Further to that, I am concerned about the continual draw on our extremely limited, EMS and administrative capacities across the board. There's really no appreciable tax revenue generated. They continue to seem to have an intent to move forward with a very secular, and I get that, relationship with the county in general. Our expenses continue to rise in serving the residents of the county. They are a huge burden potentially. We've seen it before, but potentially going forward. And to your point, your questions are well posed in terms of what is their ultimate goal. I don't think we're going to know that, quite honestly. To Alicia's point, yes, they're restricted to a degree now because of, infrastructure capacity, let's call it. I'm concerned about where this is going. How far will it go? Will they continue to not contribute to the county? But something that really sticks out in the resolution is Section 1, Paragraph A. States that the issuance of the obligations by the issuer with respect to the project will relieve and reduce unemployment, promote and provide for additional and maximum employment, better, and maintain job opportunities for the inhabitants of Schoharie County, New York, and thereby serve the public processes or purposes of the Enabling Act. I challenge that strongly. That has not been, first, there's nothing been provided by the applicant that demonstrates in any concrete or verifiable form of data that that's true. So it's a statement in the resolution that I believe they absolutely have not met, in addition to all the other resource draws they take from the county while contributing nothing to support those services that they require, and by the way, demand. So, absent somebody being able to prove to me what their track record has been in terms of employment and how this is an economic driver for Schoharie County, I'm at a total loss as to supporting this. I just can't do it. I'm going to say something that's going to sound cruel, but the secondary complaints from the neighbors that live near there have nothing to do with this per se. I get that. But that exists. And that exists daily for those people. And if you drive over there at night, you'll see it. And if you live that world, you'll feel it. And I'm trying to stay on point with the subject matter at hand in terms of the Enabling Act, but it's difficult to do from my position. We represent these people. The host communities represent these people. They're suffering. And there has not been any significant, that I know of, outreach from the camp, or camps, if you will, to even address that issue. I made a strong point when I spoke at the public hearing. My strong point was to the representatives that were present from URA. Engage with the Schoharie County Board of Supervisors. Reach out to us. Explain to us your plans. Tell us how you want to be a good neighbor. Dispel any negativity. Talk to us. engage. And I don't believe that offer has been taken up in any way, shape, or form. Not at all. So again, I won't support this. I mean, I have a tremendous amount of leverage. Counting 31 weighted votes, but I can't support this. I just don't see, I don't see the benefit to the county. I want to stick to the resolution, and I just feel that they don't meet the standard that would be required. And I did speak to our economic development committee chair about this, and I did speak to our economic development coordinator on this. And he couldn't be here this morning, but he did authorize me to say that he feels that they've also failed as a good neighbor, and they have not, integrated into the community as they promised. So with that being said, that's my position on it. Thank you, Chet.
If I may just follow up to Don's
Mhm.
comments, and then I
Sure.
know Bill has some comments as well. I do want to share with the CRC board and staff that, following the public hearing, the county administrator, Brian Best, did coordinate a visit of the camp while there were still campers there. So, Brian, his confidential assistant, Sarah Hunt, and I, went and we, were able to take that tour. The very first place we stopped was to meet with the rabbi. And of course, it was after the public hearing, and so he had a lot of things to say to me. Some of the things that he said to me included that they were not able to hire local people because local people were drunk or had family, family issues or whatever, so they were not able to hire local people. That's why they were bringing folks in from outside. He also made it very clear that if he had his way, they would never pay a single dime of taxes anywhere. Again, at some point, we were able to move on with the rest of the tour, but it took about 10 or 15 minutes. And I did encourage him. I said, you have because some of the staff from both the boys' camp in Jefferson and the girls' camp in Gilboa came and videoed on their cell phones the public hearing. And that was the video that the rabbi had reviewed. And I encouraged him, I said, if you have responses to those, charges, those things that have been laid out in that public hearing, please put them in writing, make sure to share them with the Capital Resource Corporation as well as with the County Board of Supervisors. And I don't believe that's
Okay. I do have a lot of things I want to say, and Alicia and Don eloquently covered a lot of it, but I'm going to, so it'll be a little disjointed, I understand, but I do feel very strongly about what we just heard. And I want to add a few things to that. First thing on the list is that there were, I think, 22 people that signed up to speak, give or take. Not one had anything to say positive about URA. And they were some of the things that Don and Alicia alluded to. They played music loud at night. And I was corrected on one thing, that they do hire on the outside. Before we ever heard what ICE was that got raided, I don't know, I hear anything from 30 to 50 people were taken away. I mean, it wasn't even people from outside the area, it was people from outside the country. And they continue to do that. They claim that they're good for local commerce. Well, I can take you to one or two businesses that never paid or never got paid by URA for materials and things that they would use, or contractors. They would string them along so finally they would settle for penny on the dollars to make it go away. This is good for the community. And frankly, someone made the comment, well, you're not sticking to what the merits of what they want to do. They brought up those assertions that they're good and they continue to do well and it help with the economy. That's fair game once they brought that up. And they had no defense for it. They had some gentleman, I think he was a rabbi, a retired rabbi, come in and said, I don't know anything about this, but I was asked to come here. Well, he could research, he was able to recite everything that was going on and what was in their application. So, I mean, even the disingenuousness of what they're doing. And I'm drifting a little bit, but I think it's worth sharing. Not only when we were done, they followed me and Supervisor Haight from Jefferson out to our cars and surrounded us. They were all very respectful and cordial and all that, and I admired them for not being, but they were obnoxious. Why cannot believe? Why wouldn't the county go along with this? It's nothing to you. Everything is nothing to somebody except them. Just, and now I'm going to go back on a little bit of history. This is not your first application. This goes back about 8, 9, 10 years ago.
At least,
You remember this? Okay. Well, if I leave something out, please don't fail to jump in. They wanted to do some refurb on their buildings. I think it was $18 million in that neighborhood. Okay. So I said, and I met with the rabbi, and he was a lot less obnoxious, by the way, than the ones they have now. And they had their lawyer there. And they were explaining to us what they wanted to do. We're going to, make this building look a lot better. It's going to be good for the community, always good for the community. So I asked $18 million to do that work. Oh, no, only $6 million is for Jefferson. And I think it was Gilboa also. Well, where's the other $12 million for? New Jersey and Rockland County. They played us for fools. They played us for fools. But you know what? They dropped the whole thing. This is not a good partner that would do something like that. You have to dig it out of them what's going on. So I really have a concern with that. And we asked, what's their plan? Peggy couldn't be here, but she would have told you. She's already been approached by what it would take for them to buy the entire hamlet, at least the hamlet and most of Jefferson. So they're well funded. As I said, they have hundreds of millions of dollars in their tax return. And they do make a lot of revenue. I forget what it was. So again, not very reputable people. But here's my concern. When I heard that you on the advice of council, you folks were considering approving it and sending it on to the board. My question is to your lawyer, what meeting was he at? Nobody said anything positive about it. Nobody, 22 people. And this is a meeting where it was supposed to have public comment and questions. You got it. What part of that? So I can only come to the conclusion, like a lot of lawyers, he's trying to protect you from maybe them being litigious, which they are. But you know what? This is your mission. You work for the community. And in that, you're not supposed to shirk your duties if you've got feedback that this is something that shouldn't happen. The community certainly doesn't want. Why would you approve this just to kick it down? And it's a tired phrase these days, kick the can down the road. Because that's all this is. This is saying, I don't want to get involved. Let the board of supervisors, and we will. Trust me, we will. They'll come out to where it needs to be, I'm sure. But you're shirking your duties. You are. And this is let me just finish.
I have a question for you.
I'd be pleased to answer it. But the point being is, there's no, and as Don said, I can't support this, and I dare say it'll be a 16-0 vote in the board. But you know what? That doesn't absolve you, this committee or this group, of doing the right thing. Have you heard anything that would make you say, you know what? They've got a good case here. Let's move forward. No. What have you heard from the 22 or so other people? Not good stuff. And I could take you through the examples, but I think Don and Alicia did well with that. So I urge you guys to show some courage. Do your job. Because your job is to approve, move it on, if it makes sense. I will insist, if this does happen that way, we're going to ask you to come to the board meeting and explain in public why you approved it. because there's no good reason to approve it. And you know you can't defend it other than your lawyer, who should be giving you legal advice and stay the hell out of your business. And I was in the business world, corporate world for 34 years, dealt with a lot of lawyers. And a good way of operating for me was never let the lawyers tell you how to run your business. What the hell do they know? They should be advising you on the law. The fact that they're litigious, well, that doesn't mean that's a legal counsel. The law states you have to give us an opinion whether it's worth moving on to the board. And I urge you not to do that. And you can explain it to the citizens of Schoharie County if you do. You had a question.
You answered my question. Thank you.
See if I didn't long enough. So
I
that,
will also just point out, one of the first things that was a concern for the town of Gilboa is their building permit application was for 10 to 12 million. But the original application, as I understand it, for the tax exempt bond financing was for 18. And I started immediately pushing, why is there a difference? And I believe by the time we got to the public hearing, that dollar amount had changed to be more reflective of what was included in the building permit application that the town of Gilboa received. That's my understanding. But I'm still wary of that difference, again, based on what happened earlier with a similar project in Jefferson.
I appreciate what you folks have said, and I agree with you right up until the last thing. I don't think it's your job to tell us what to do.
we're asking you.
Everything you've said is correct, as far as I'm concerned, because I went through that with them 10 to 12 years ago, and they are not honest. They're not trustworthy. They had a fire over there that could have been an absolute disaster. Two, right?
Two major fires there.
Right. And the resources that took from the town for that is just incredible. So I am, if there's any way we cannot approve it, I certainly hope we cannot. I just don't want to be told what to do.
I apologize if it came across that way.
I agree with Leo because it didn't come across as an.
I apologize.
It came across as a threat. If you don't do this, we will do that to you. So, it's semantics.
All right. I apologize if it came across that way. It wasn't intended.
Excellent. Thanks, Bill.
I guess it's a little passion involved here too. What everyone also forgets is, the Jefferson facility had a near catastrophic disaster regarding, carbon monoxide. That could have resulted in the deaths of 30 or 40 campers. And, that goes back, a little bit of ancient history. But the reason I bring it up is not to degrade their mission of what they're trying to do. It's a ongoing resistance to oversight. It's an ongoing resistance to regulatory controls. To the point that they seem to be almost proud of it. Now, that has a liability. They can be proud of that and they can want that. But at the end of the day, those regulatory controls fall upon this county of Schoharie and the towns, the host communities, to exercise that due diligence, those safeguards and those controls. If there had been 30 casualties from that event, I can assure you that the county and the town of Jefferson would have been cited, would have been involved in the investigation, and on it goes. I don't have to walk you folks through that. This is a serious concern that I have as well, that they're not receptive to oversight or inspection. There always is a game being played. You can't come in this day. You have to come in that day. That's not how it works. But if we don't kowtow to that, then we hear what town supervisors always hear. Leo, and you've heard it too. We might sue you. If I ran my town and if I govern as a legislator on the Schoharie County Board of Supervisors, and I was susceptible to the threat of a suit in my decision-making process, I should be shot at dawn.
Yeah.
But that's the lever that we always are faced with. I don't see that relationship improving. I have hopes it might one day, but that would require outreach and engagement. And that's a huge miss that we don't have. And that's specifically why I asked them during the public hearing, please engage with the county. Tell us more, convince us. Don't promise us. Convince us. Show us how you're part of the community. And that's just been absent. So I do worry about the liability, not because they might sue the county or a town, as much as I worry about an event that can occur where we have failed or been unable for whatever reason to fulfill our requirements, our regulatory requirements in how the camp is run. This goes from the health department to EMS, to the codes officer, to public safety across the board. It could ruin our county. It could certainly ruin the host communities. That's a huge concern to me. Thank you, Chet.
Anything else? Anybody else has to offer?
The only thing I would offer is that past history has been exactly what you folks have said. And there's no reason to believe that would never change. And the only reason they can do that is because they have so much money behind them. Without that, they wouldn't be doing this. I think it's really unfortunate. This is something.
And if I can add to what Leo said, it doesn't seem there's any way we can hold them accountable.
Yeah.
I mean, you can put in a resolution, well, we're only going to hire county people, we're going to reduce the unemployment rate, we're going to increase the employment. There's nothing in there in terms
Well,
of
if
how.
everybody in Schoharie County was drunk, we could probably do
Well,
that.
yeah.
We can fix that, at least within this room.
I want to join the ones that are drunk.
Big point.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, there's no way to hold them accountable.
Yeah, you're not, I'm sorry, I don't speak out of turn, but that's why I was focused on the data.
Yes.
And there's another part of this, and it's a small thing, but it's a big thing. Some applicants, you guys doing this a lot longer than me, would come to this table and have a compelling need for what is being asked for. This is not a hardship. If this board were to deny going forward, or if the Schoharie County, if it gets that far, and the Schoharie County Board ultimately votes to on the negative, this is not going to be a hardship to the applicant.
Yeah.
That's a consideration too that I think matters. I always felt that people should come to this group when they have a project that they really need the assistance. They really need the resources that you folks can bring to bear and that the county can approve. That's absent in this case. It's not gonna stop the project. They may not make as much money at the end of the day. The balance sheet may look a little different, but it's not going to stop them from accomplishing their goal in their mission. Throw that out there. Thank you.
Any further comment? Well, thanks for coming in. Appreciate the input.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. The only thing I mean, I'm here to support the communities that are being affected by this. The reality is, as Chairman of Economic Development, is that they, at this point in time, are a drain on the resources of the county. They do not add to the resources of the county. And that's a problem. The larger they grow, the more comes off the tax rolls. We have to sit there and it increases our responsibility in terms of fire, EMS, things of that nature. And we have to raise taxes because we literally are not getting a tax base. They are diminishing the tax base. The larger they grow.
An erosion.
Correct. It's a problem. So,
Okay.
and I'd like to thank you very much for hosting us.
Oh, we
I
appreciate
coming in.
Thank you.
We need the input. And at this point, we're gonna go into executive session and discuss what we've heard.
Okay.
Thank you very
Again,
much.
thanks for coming in, appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Want to take up coffee before you go?
Yeah, I'm good.
Want to fill yours up, Don?
Before.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Glad we all fit in here, you know.
Now,
We made it work.
now the county meetings start. Maybe it'll be done by 6:30. I'm hoping.
All right. Right. All right.
I want to see it, because I don't know how you do that. You're giving me way too much credit. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Even a blind mouse finds a cheese once in a while. Thank you.
Don, we haven't met formally.
Mike Moore, thank you.
And Chuck Finnan. Don.
Nice meeting you. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
So we have to make a motion officially to go into executive session.
So
Yes.
moved, we do. Second?
All in favor? All opposed? Hearing none, motion carried.
Wait a minute.
Like,
Yeah,
send with it.
fact, I'm going to ask you
So, we make a motion to come out of executive session.
there's a
During-
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion carried.
And during executive session, we discussed the seeker agreement, involved with the application. And noticed that it needs to be addressed, reworked. And so we've taken no action, no motions, until the seeker resolution is clarified.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carried.
Did I do that right?
Good job.
Okay, close enough.
Do we have any other business coming before the Capital Resource Corporation today?
No, we have no reports of committees, no new business and no old business unless anybody has anything.
I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion carried.
All right. Can I take a little quick break before we?
Trevor,
Yeah.
most of the days go much longer today on the.
Yeah, that was.
Welcome to Schoharie County.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the same thing.
You,
Yeah.
The mute,
mute that.
yeah, you
Do the audit committee first. Or let's move the audit and then move to the full committee. Nobody else said?
Yes.
Call to order the Schoharie County Industrial Development Audit Committee. Roll call
Chester Burton,
here.
Neil McAllister, and Charles Finn.
Here.
Approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, motion carried. We have the audit that needs to be reviewed and approved. As covered this before, but for matter of record, was there anything noted by the auditors that would be of concern to us?
No, it was a clean audit. Everything was good. Sarah did a great job.
I'll make a motion that we accept it as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Any further business before the audit committee?
No.
I have a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Or second?
No, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to the IDA meeting, call to order, Schoharie County Industrial Development Agency meeting. Roll call.
Chester Grady,
Here.
Leo McAllister, Charles Finnen,
Here.
Bill Breen,
Here.
Michael Moore.
Here. These two from here. It's okay. Bills and communications, none reported, the treasurer, cash position report.
Yeah, minutes. There's
Oh, I'm sorry.
Make a
Can I have a
motion.
motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Now, the cash position report.
all the cash was reinvested. There's an attachment at the end if anybody wants to review the specifics. There's nothing new to report other than that.
Okay, go into the short-term account. You have one, there's 730, 729. Oh, those are 26. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Any further discussion on the cash position report? Reports of the committee. First, the audit committee.
So we just, in the audit committee, moved the audit to the full board. So we would have to accept that report.
Do I have a motion to accept the report from the audit committee? So moved. Second,
Second.
all in favor? All opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Unfinished business.
Yes. On the Paul Navco lease extension, we're still waiting for the appraisal to be done. We expect that to be in the next couple weeks. Sarah expects it. Once we have that in hand, Hodgson and Russ can finish their lease extension agreement, so just waiting on that. On the Grove Street property sale, we're waiting for Rose Chase from RPC to respond with RPC board confirmation to move forward. Once we hear from RPC, we'll start the disposition process. Sarah and I attended the Schoharie Planning Board meeting on the Amazon project. The room was actually overwhelmingly positive. There's probably 20 people that spoke in favor of it. Contractors who've worked with Amazon, local people who just want to see, someone like that come in, people who have worked in other areas with Amazon. Amazon sent their architect and their engineer and a government affairs official to do a pretty extensive presentation. The presentation was exclusively focused on their response to community concerns in previous meetings. They talked about how the parking will work at the facility, how there will be the tractor trailer trucks in the front and the delivery trucks in the back. they're gonna have the employees park closest to the building, which stands to reason, but it's nice to see that they actually put some thought into prioritizing that after concerns. They talked about a traffic study that they did and how they are setting up the whole operation of the warehouse to be so that the tractor trailer deliveries happen on off-peak hours for local 88 traffic and otherwise. I believe the peak hours that they said were going to be at the facility work for delivery of tractor trailers was going to be like 4 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. So they had done that. They showed a chart on the traffic study that they did that showed that was indeed in the lull for local traffic. They lowered the building 10 feet to mitigate the view from the highway that people complained about. They changed the color of the building to be a more earth tone color in response to complaints. They put up windscreens and light fixtures that are not going to project off the property. And there was one more thing. They shortened the canopy on the outside that some people didn't think looked great. and they've added more landscaping to so once it's fully mature, the trees that they planted will cover the building if everything goes according to plan. So it's a very extensive presentation with about 12 or so points that they really noted that they mitigated for direct response to community concerns.
Was there egress and where are they gonna
Yeah.
come out on?
I forget where they said. I'd have to look into that and get back to you. I forget what they said exactly where they come out. There's an in ramp for the tractor trailers and there's an out ramp on the property. I don't remember which road that connects to.
Is that 30 or
Yeah.
38?
That's 38.
Yeah,
38. I would
Okay.
assume
Right
it's coming out in
across.
38, right?
yeah. They showed that in the map at the previous planning board meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it would come out almost across from, no, probably north of the park and ride. So,
Yeah.
you know, 38 is here, the park and ride
Right.
is here, and I think. no,
There couldn't be much room there.
Can't be much further up there because the park and ride's
I
right
think
on
it's-
that
Yeah,
ramp.
that's
I
true.
think it has to be
That's
south of
always
the
down,
park
have to
or
be
right
south.
at the park, right? As long as
Yeah.
it- But anyway, as long as it's gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
They'll have to have some kind of traffic lights set up so that during peak hours,
And that's a thing with DOT that sometimes takes more time than less time to get done.
So again, at the planning board meeting that we were at earlier, they had already discussed it based on DOT traffic studies. It already demands a traffic light at the ramps.
Okay,
So,
So,
so that will be a natural that will flow. The DOT is aware of that, right?
Yep, now that you say that, they did touch on it again and reiterate the point
Yeah.
that DOT had already told them what they need to do and that they were all good with that and it was gonna stay the same as what DOT said.
Yeah.
did DOT as part of the report reduce the speed there or? Because I think it's 50 miles an hour right up to the intersection.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
just
know that.
curious.
I didn't hear discussion on
Okay.
that part, but
But
I think they did discuss that speed.
yeah, but if there's a
Last time,
traffic
but I
light,
don't
you're
think
certainly
there
gonna
was.
slow down for the traffic light.
One hopes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
It's green,
hard
you
with
know.
big trucks. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Well, it was a change from the first meeting, because the first meeting there was,
So
they were
negative.
arguing, they were only supposed to deal with the site plan change.
Right,
And they came in and they were arguing stuff that would have occurred at the first public hearing.
yeah.
So it was kind of, people venting their concerns over again. Sounds like at this meeting, they didn't do that.
no, there was one person that was opposed to it that lived next door and was upset about the change in the view. And everybody else was really happy that they addressed the concerns.
It'll be interesting to see if the signs go down in the village now, because there are signs not just on the main
Oh,
street,
they're all over.
but even on the back streets going down to Middleburg
Yeah.
too. So,
Well, the opposition organized well
oh, they did
Mm.
very well.
And quickly.
and put out a little bit of money.
Yeah.
All right, so that is that. On Shad Point. Given the extensive environmental requirements, high financial risk, prolonged permitting timelines, lack of cooperation from property owners, and expiring funding opportunities, it was determined that moving forward with the project is not viable. The IDA team is working with Supervisor Hampel and County Economic Development to determine other eligible and viable projects that can be funded by ARPA guidelines, and we're meeting with the IDA. We had a meeting with Lamont Engineering, Supervisor Hampel, to discuss on Monday some of the alternatives. We talked about a pump house project that they're working on. It would be a pump house, and then it would run a water line up to housing development along the Shad Point area and the surrounding neighboring properties. So the idea would be that the pump house would have several pumps in it. One of them would be a fire quality commercial pump that would allow the housing development that's going in already to install a fire suppression system that this pump could feed. And the pump actually has the capacity to the excess capacity to provide water up to any other neighboring property that might want to tap into it. So a lot of people on wells in the area could, in theory, if they wanted to, tap into the infrastructure that would be in place. Where we left it with Lamont is that they need to come up with a more detailed proposal or plan of what they're doing, what pumps exactly they're buying and installing, the cost. There's about 2,000 feet of water line that they are talking about having to install. Getting an exact measurement on that, the cost, the scope, and they're going to break it into sort of an itemized list so that we can take the ARPA funding that we have once it's determined exactly what we have. So I know there's still a few outstanding invoices with that, and then compare it to, their need, and it'll help us inform better on whether or not we can fund a whole project or a part of it, or if we want to, what we want to do, if we want to do something there and something else. But it was a very productive conversation. They seem very open to any help that we may or may not be able to give, and very willing to work with MRB and everybody in the IDA and everybody else that they need to. So it was a good meeting to get the ball rolling, but we're sort of waiting on them for more detail before we can move forward.
The other part, the housing complex they're talking about are the Chachos brothers, and they're talking about putting in 40 to 50 houses.
Where?
I'm not sure the name of the road, but it's right there by the parking.
Yeah, this Shad Point Road.
Yeah,
Is it Shad Point
it's a
Road?
dead end now.
Yeah, it's a-
Okay.
Up through there.
Yeah, where there's probably a couple of houses and a few trailers in there. But at the very end of that,
Was it Snyder Farm?
I think that's
property
right. I think you're right.
butts up to the golf course and also goes down.
Gate behind the
And
old,
they were initially thinking about 40 to 50 houses. A lot would depend upon, how much they could push up there with water and that type of thing. But they were talking about putting in a pump the size that would take care of more than that, so they could even put in more housing up there.
Where is the water coming from? Is that Cobblestone? It's coming?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
That's what I thought.
That water district's gonna have to be enlarged.
The water hydrant is right at the intersection of that road and 7. It's
Okay.
between the entrance to the park and ride and
Yeah,
that,
I
and
know
they would
what you
have to run the line from there up.
right.
Okay.
The other thing that they said they were going to do was run a line down Mineral Springs Road and connect. So they would have a redundant loop for water. In case one side ran out, they could just close the valves and open up the other side.
That's gonna take money.
Yeah. Well, they were talking about just the pump station alone to be, 500,000-600,000. Now, for us, the ARPA money has to be, whatever we do has to be completed by the end of the ARPA.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so we have to say, this is what we paid for, and it can't be something that's ongoing. We paid for the pump house
Right.
and one pump. We paid for whatever, so we need to show completion on,
Those bills at least occurred by December 26th.
I think they ought to look at the water district itself though, because I think it was clearly defined when the line went into the tank at Hell Caverns that there was a specific project. I don't think they could incorporate off of that line. Jack McDonald's the one that did the engineering.
They didn't mention his name in the meeting as far as being aware that he did it, so, but that's a good point that we can bring back up and check into.
The good news is that the village water supply is very adequate to do anything really that we want to do.
But she doesn't want to share it.
Well, I know that. There's always elections, you know. We have enough water to supply all Central Bridge and Coldstream. Because back when I was on the board, the Schoharie supervisor was talking about, would you be interested in, if we extend the line, would you be interested in it? And I said, we talk about it, but it got turned down by somebody else.
So
So do we need to actually make a motion now as part of this discussion?
On a separate sort of piece from the pump house, we're gonna make a motion hopefully to send a termination letter to Van Dyke Enterprises for the Chat Point site. The termination letter would be voiding the third and fourth year extensions for 25,000 each, which would save ARPA funding from instead going towards those options to being pivoted towards a project such as the pump house.
do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carried.
just one more question in regards to that ARPA money. Is that only to be used in the town of Cobleskill or can that be used countywide?
That's countywide.
Could be countywide.
The Route 7 corridor, I think, is the only restriction.
But we have to be careful now, because whatever we do,
It's gotta be.
it has to be completed.
Yeah.
There has to be a start and an end date and before the, I think it's November 26th is when our grants run out, the Fast B grant and the National Grid grants.
Did a lot bring up about the Richmondville sewer district, because that's been in the pipeline too.
We did touch on it briefly. We were mostly talked about the pump house and in that meeting, but it has been mentioned as a potential pivot project as well. I think initially the pump house seems like it's going to be so expensive that we wouldn't have money to cover the whole thing for it anyway. So we hadn't gone down the road of what do we want to do if we want to split it. But it has been mentioned in meetings, and we can certainly continue to talk about
Because
it.
I thought that was almost ready to go out to bid.
Check into that.
Yeah, I can ask.
Certainly, the pump house, for us anyway, is the county really needs housing. And these people are willing to shell out a lot of money to put that housing in, so.
No, that'd be great.
I agree.
Unfortunately, we've used a lot of money.
But there is other development happening in exit 21. Right? With Dunkin' Donuts. Is that going in there? I haven't heard too much about
On the
that.
corner, I think they really right
I
off the
think they're
exit.
waiting for the sewer to come through.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well.
Okay.
All right, so we did a motion for that. On the new business, we already moved the audit in the audit committee section, so we don't have to do that here. The one thing I might have missed, do we need a motion to accept the treasurer's report for the cash report, or do we usually just report that?
I think we just reported in the
It
past.
seems like it should have a motion.
It just felt weird.
I'll make a motion to accept the
Accept it.
If we need it, I'll second.
All right, we'll just do it to be safe, right?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Motion carried.
I think that's it.
Is there anything else to come before the board?
There's been some interest by MRB for further discussion with the board. And there's been ongoing Shad Point conference calls. And the last email I had from Sarah was they wanted to meet with us again to further discuss. And there was a couple of dates given for availability to have that meeting. And so I don't know if we need to go into executive session to have that conversation, or if that conversation has taken place at the chairman and executive director level and has been decided. I'm just not quite sure where we stand with Michael Donolo and Nadolo and MRB.
I don't think we need to go into executive session for that. I think MRB has made a recommendation to us that based upon the requirements in order to complete the project at Shad Point, and all the obstacles that we would never be able to complete and meet the ARPA guidelines. So
Yeah.
their recommendation was to find another project.
Yeah.
And that's when we pivoted to the pump house.
Yeah.
My understanding is that the next meeting, which is supposed to be next week, and any of you can attend that meeting.
Yeah.
Was to discuss the pump house
Yeah.
requirements.
Yeah.
So that would further tell us, what we need to do and to meet the requirements of ARPA.
Yeah.
And working in that particular project, which may end up being that we need to pivot also from not that project but to the sewer project.
So just Lamont and MRB overlap. It's not an either or. It's in conjunction.
Right.
They-
MRB is the one that has the money to distribute.
Yep.
If it wasn't Lamont, they would go out to
and
bid
get
and
somebody
get
else.
somebody else.
Yep, okay. I wasn't quite sure that whole relationship.
So there's no issue with MRB or Lamont.
Yeah, yeah.
And
They're both
working
away.
in that way.
Yep, okay, good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything further for the board? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Ken, thank you very much for coming in.
Absolutely.
You want to hit that,
Yeah. Sorry.